Howdy, y'all. I know a lot of you have been playing the Monster Hunter Wilds beta just like I have. And I've been seeing a lot of discourse online about some certain issues that people have been facing, and I wanted to touch on a few of those real quick. The first off being this hilarious little clip of some pretty blocky looking monsters and stuff like that, but I don't think it's quite what everybody seems to think it is. You'll notice everything looks really blocky and low poly, and people are kind of blaming that, saying, hey, my rig is underpowered or I need to upgrade or something like that. This is actually, as far as I can tell, just a bug. It's not a performance related thing, even though it's designed to help improve performance. So what we're seeing here is actually the low LOD models. Basically, whenever you're sitting really far away from something in a game world, it can't render it at full poly, full texture, full detail all the time, or else your performance would be absolute garbage. So what video games do is whenever something gets so far from the camera, it actually switches to a much lower poly, lower detailed version, so that it can run much smoother. What you're actually seeing here is something has kind of gone crazy or cattywampus whenever it is switching from the low LOD to the high LOD. Or level of detail. So what's going on here is something is bugged there. There's some kind of bug that is causing it to not switch when it's supposed to. It's really not a matter of, hey, your performance or your rig is so underpowered that it's not going to work, that it's going to cause everything to look like this. No, that's probably not really the case. It's probably just a matter of there is a bug having to do with that transition that is not working properly. Now, as I've said before, I don't have any kind of inner workings of many of these games. I'm just kind of just looking at it from my experience and assessing that that's what's actually happening. Okay, so here we are in Dead Rising 3, just to sort of show a little bit of an example. So you'll notice that the textures kind of get more or less detailed or fuzzy as you get further and closer away from them. Some items altogether will not even render until you are close. These are the ones that are usually cluttered along the ground, so it doesn't really make much of a point to render those until the player is close. But it is a bug that the player is able to see them pop in at all, so I would definitely bug that. But you'll notice as I get further and closer to this restaurant, more and more items will kind of start to look crappier and crappier as I get further away, and better as I get closer. So the soda machine in the corner, you can't see it at all here. I get closer, it does pop in, but it's a very blocky, fuzzy mess. And if I get closer, it starts to come into more and more focus, and lo and behold, now it looks like a full soda machine. Really, that is what LOD is. It's basically taking a complex model that looks really good when it's up close, making it kind of more simplistic and crappy looking as it gets further away. So in all honesty, that's really all there is to it. It's basically just taking a model, making sure that it works well in the game when it looks good really close, and actually that is something you test for whenever you're in QA, and not just to see how good something looks up close, make sure there's no clipping or problems like that, but also to make sure that that low LOD model pops in when it's supposed to, and whenever it has the correct level of detail. Remember, the whole point of this thing is to make a model that's not nearly as detailed so it doesn't create so much of a problem on whenever it's trying to be processed. So really, that is all there is to it. It's just making sure that the low LOD model looks somewhat like the high LOD model whenever you're sort of squinting at it. Now, the other thing that I kind of see some people not fully understanding is that whenever the developers came out and said the beta is really old and that the game is already in a much better shape than it was whenever it was made, 100%, yeah, that's absolutely true. Because a lot of times when people see betas or demos, they think that, hey, this is the state of the build as it was put out on the date it was made available, and that's not really how branching works. So maybe things would be a little easier with a demonstration or just an illustration. So imagine this is the timeline of your game. You're trucking along, working on it, and then you realize, hey, I have to put together a demo. So what you're going to do is you're going to create a copy of the game to run alongside your actual main game, your main branch. Now what you've got happening is on the beta branch, people are going to treat it more like it's a final product. It's content complete, they're not going to be adding anything to it, in fact they're taking a lot of the game out. But on top of that, they need to make it to where it's as close to the final product as possible. Things that might not have been totally ready for QA, things that might not have been ready for ship, these things have got to be ready for ship on the beta. But at the same time, development on the main branch is still happening. So this happens months before the beta goes live. So whenever you get a beta, that's not the state of the game that particular day of when it goes live. That branch actually happened months ago, and while this was being tested and brought up to snuff to where it could actually be consumed by the public, this was still being developed, adding new features, bug fixes, all types of improvements. Yeah, so basically whenever you're playing a beta or a demo of any kind, it usually branched off quite a while ago back in development, and things can be pretty different by the time it comes out. Thanks so much for watching. Hopefully you learned something. If you didn't, whatever, why'd you watch to the end? I don't know. But anyway, thanks so much for coming. Let me know how you guys feel. Have a good one.